How do you learn how to tread water if you don't know how to swim in the deep end? Do we overcome our fear of deep water first to learn how to tread water? Or do we learn how to tread water first to overcome our fear of the deep end? This is impossible! Welcome to Crew-Based Swim. If this is your first time watching one of our videos, my name is Coach Jeff, and I teach adults just like you the simple techniques that you can use to teach yourself how to learn how to swim from home. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to our channel. Answering this question may actually be simpler than you think. Let's go back to the time you were learning how to ride a bike. Exactly how were you able to learn how to ride that bike? Did your parents hire an expensive professional cyclist to teach you how to ride it? Oh, I know. Maybe they took you to group cycling classes where you split your 30-minute class with 4 to 6 other kids who also were learning how to ride a bike. Or maybe you were a real go-getter and you just wanted to push through, so you would ride the bike as long as you could, maybe 5-second increments before falling over, bumping your head, skidding your knee, and ultimately getting really frustrated at the fact that you couldn't learn how to do it. No one would learn that way. Instead, you would use training wheels, because the training wheels would provide the adequate amount of support that you would need to increase the amount of time that you were actually on the bike so that you could learn how to balance, how to steer, how to pedal, all of the things that you needed to know how to do in order to successfully ride the bike. It was the training wheels that gave you the safety and the exposure and the balance to be able to learn. So here's really the main question we have to solve. When it comes to teaching our kids how to ride a bike, we've developed the perfect model of training wheels to teach them how to ride. But when it comes to teaching ourselves or adults learning how to swim, why is it that we can't use that exact same logic to teach us how to swim? No, I'm no championship fighter, but I do have the training wheels of learning how to tread water and the secret to answering the question that got us into this video in the first place. This progressive flotation belt is the answer that is going to allow you the adequate amount of exposure in the deep end so that you don't have to worry about, do you learn how to tread water first to overcome your fear of the deep end, or do you learn how to overcome your fear of the deep end to learn how to tread water? Now we can do both at the same time. Here's how it works. We simply clip the belt on around our waist, and now immediately we have a set of training wheels on our waist that allows us to immediately begin treading water in the deep end with the adequate amount of support to stay above the water. Now, my guess is you have 2 primary questions for me at this point. Number 1, how long is this going to take? And number 2, how does this process actually work? So let's start with number 1. How long does this process actually take? The answer for most of you is going to be around 20 hours of treading water. Now, I hope that you, when you hear that, don't get freaked out and turn the video off. There is no quick fix solution to learning how to do this. Just like you didn't hop on the bike and immediately become a professional cyclist. It takes exposure, repetition, and frequency of practicing in order to begin relaxing our body and learning how to actually interact in the water while we're doing this. For some of us, it might take longer. For others, it might be shorter. But the right answer is really around 20 hours. So how does the process actually work? Well, it's actually really simple. We're gonna focus on 3 primary categories. In the beginning, your primary focus through exposure in the deep end treading water is to get as relaxed as possible. So our primary focus is relaxation. Our secondary focus is buoyancy created by just simple deep breaths while we're treading water. And our least or third focus is going to be technique. It's least relevant in the beginning as we're getting started. Now, Once you are able to achieve a state of a 100% relaxation, meaning you have no anxiety, no tension, you are fully comfortable in this state of treading water at your given support level, well, it's time to slowly reduce the amount of flotation that you have. Get back in the water and keep going with a little bit less support from the belt and relying a little bit more on your own individual skill level. Think of it like multiple sets of smaller and smaller training wheels until you are completely weaned off of the belt and swimming or treading water independently on your own without it. All right, I'm gonna bring the camera in here for a little bit of the coach to swimmer tough love section. I know that when I say 20 hours, most of you are going to begin thinking that this might not be the right way for you. However, I want you to think back to the beginning of our video and think back to when you were a child and the example that I gave with learning how to ride a bike. None of you would hire that expensive professional cyclist. That would be crazy. The one-to-one comparison of that is hiring an expensive swim instructor. The reason we haven't learned yet is not because your technique is wrong. Number two, we would never learn how to ride a bike in a group setting with 4 to 6 other kids learning how to ride a bike, where we would alternate taking turns learning on that. So why is this the default model that most of us choose in organized swimming lessons to learn how to tread water? Guys, that process doesn't work. From me to you, I owned a very big swim school. I've taught thousands of adults how to swim, and minimum our classes have to be 2 hours per week in order to get the adequate amount of exposure weekly to start desensitizing your body, or easier said, to start acclimating well enough to the water to actually learn how to do the thing, to learn how to tread water. So that process doesn't work. And finally, you would never get on a bike not knowing how to ride it just to go 2 or 3 feet to then fall over, scrape your knee, bump your head, and ultimately get so frustrated that you give up on the process of learning. However, most of you find yourself in the exact situation we just described. You're trying to swim 2 feet without the proper amount of support and metaphorically tipping over, drinking water, getting it up your nose, and ultimately getting so frustrated at the fact that you keep trying and haven't learned yet that you're at the place that you might just give up. And as your new virtual swim coach, I'm begging you to give this process a try. You guys, I have taught thousands of adults how to swim this way. It works. All you have to do is commit to the process.